Joining us today on the podcast, we have Commissioner of the CEBL, Mike Morreale. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, and just for the people watching, I'm not driving. I'm parked here. I'm running out of places to talk, so this is what's going to happen today. Out of the car.
Yeah, we can see in the background that tree isn't moving, so you are very
Good.
stationary right now. So that's good. But season 4 just around the corner, and that's probably why you're on the road right now. Is you've got a lot of things to do between now and tip off because 100 games on the schedule this year, and a lot of growth you guys have seen. We'll get to the expansion of the actual league itself in a moment, but just from a commissioner standpoint, from year 1 to leading up to tip off right now, what have been some of the real growth things that you've seen and how the league has changed since it first started up as a startup, really?
Well, I think we had high aspirations when we started, and we really believed in what we were doing and who we were and our plans to grow. We've kind of, passed our expectations, I would say, the initial ones, but we always try to keep just slightly under the goals and keep raising the bar. And certainly we've done a really good job attracting the attention of basketball fans. There's still a lot more work to do. But in terms of being a startup league in 2019, suffering under 2 years of COVID, when the world went dark, and just, fighting and clawing our way to where we are now, at 10 teams at, the biggest league in the country, graduating players to the NBA, adding just incredible high level talent. It's been really encouraging, and now it just really changes the focus in some respects in terms of where we go next. So, in terms of viewership is up, followers are up across all our platforms. We're attracting better players, we're attracting better coaches, better agents. We're becoming a destination that we hope to be, and we're now again we have to go out and do it. We have to perform both on and off the court, and but I'm excited about where we are now. But of course, I'm looking towards where we need to go next.
Yeah, well, you bring up a great point as well too, right? Because obviously the last 2 years have been hard on even, well-established institutions that have been around for decades, let alone a startup that's just starting to get, its feet under it. What do you sort of attribute to the ability for the league to not only survive the last 2 years of, being in bubbles and not having full attendance and restrictions and all of that, but also thriving to the point where you guys are adding teams to the league and whatnot?
I just think it speaks to the people we have, on the court, off the court, on the bench. Certainly, from a league office perspective and a team perspective, we have asked our employees to do a lot and put them in uncomfortable situations that nobody had been in before, especially under COVID, and they thrived. So that, in many ways, gave them a lot of excitement and confidence going into this season. There's bumps and bruises along the way. There's a lot of long hours and a lot of sleepless nights, but that's encouraging. We've just stuck to the game plan. We know who we are. We take step by step, and we're reaping a bit of the results right now, and there's lots more to come. But as we sit here right now, we are about to launch year 4 across the country from coast to coast, with 3 new teams, and I never would have imagined it, quite frankly, and at least the pace of the growth and fighting through what we've had to fight through. I imagined this in our planning, but to do it under these circumstances has been special.
Yeah, absolutely. And, last time we talked, you had said, the league, your end goal was to truly become a coast to coast league. And with the addition of 3 additional franchises this year, you guys truly are from Atlantic to Pacific right now. And 10 teams. Are you guys starting to inch closer towards that, maybe magic number that you had in your head as far as that target number of franchises that you really feel comfortable operating with? Or is this something where you guys are just going to expand until, you get up to 20, 30 teams like, have you had those internal discussions as far as what that sweet spot number might look like in the future?
Yeah, for me, that sweet spot's in 14 to 16, and placed in certain markets that allow us to go into a divisional model of a West, Central, and East. So we need some more teams in the West. We need some more teams in the East. Centrally, in Southern Ontario, we're good. I don't think you're going to see us add too many teams there. There's certainly interest, but we want to be cognizant of the fact you can't have all Ontario-based teams.
Mhm.
And that allows us to go divisional, create rivalries, or rivalries already exist in some of those instances. Whether if we add a Calgary, they're going head to head with Edmonton, and it's a really interesting point because we can see that growth. We have to manage where we're at now, but if we get to that point, we're able to go to divisional model, like I said, which allows us to play more games, and more games means more paychecks for the players. It means more opportunities for us and fans to watch our basketball, and that's really important.
Yeah. Well, even as a league, right? We're obviously adding teams to the league and they're seeing growth that way. But from an international standpoint, you guys also just recently took part in the BCL Americas as well, too. So for those that are listening who, number one, might not know what the BCL Americas are, but number two, what are even some of the takeaways that you guys had from going and participating in this tournament and seeing, some of the talent that these other top leagues around North, South, and Central America are fielding out there?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, the BCL Americas are the Champions League of Americas under FIBA. So they are the best, currently 12, but it looks like it may go to 16 league champions out of North, Central, and South America, like you mentioned. And it all culminates in the winner of the Champions League of Americas, then goes on to play in the Intercontinental Cup against the winner of the G League, the winner of Basketball Africa, and the winner of Basketball Champions League of Europe. So it's a big opportunity. It's one that we participate in for the first time. Our Edmonton team, as past champions, were represented. We had a few, CEBL players from other teams form it. It was a great learning experience. It was an incredible experience in general, going down and playing. We had to play in Nicaragua a couple times. We were in a grouping with Nicaragua and Puerto Rico, so we brought them up here to Calgary. Ended off our pool at 3-3, tied for first, and lost out on points, which was, again, a learning curve, right? We you give up a couple points here, one game, and it really comes back to haunt you because one of the teams that advanced out of our pool, the Nicaragua team, we beat them 2-1, but based on point differential, we were watching the final 8, but it was incredible experience to go there and represent Canada and represent the CEBL and the Edmonton Stingers. It was so amazing to bring those teams to Canada, especially we tried out a new market in Calgary, and that was really encouraging. But to see the level of talent, what I learned most is we can compete. I think we can win the whole darn thing. Now that we have a taste for it, we're far more athletic, we're far younger. The teams we played against are far more grizzled veterans. So it's a bit of a different game. It's a tough game. And many times they just outplayed us as a team because they had been together longer. Some cases they out physicaled us. But when we kind of got our feet underneath us, we said, okay, let's just play our game. We're very athletic. We can be physical, but we can outrun players and we can unroute, make things happen, play above the rim. So that was really cool. It was great to be involved in the international scene in basketball through FIBA, because that is where the game is going. It's a global game. So that will continue to grow. Our champion this year will represent the CBL moving forward. And we're just waiting on what that schedule will look like, but it'll probably be a late October, early November start through to March. So it really complements our season as well. And it gets extra playing time and extra paychecks for our players and keeps us together and keeps the CBL in the news. So all around, it's very cool. It's very comparable to the Champions League in soccer. So you know how big those competitions are. So we're excited to go back again.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's for those that maybe have a soccer background there, very similar to that model over there as well, too. But you mentioned, bringing some of the players from South America up to Calgary and testing out a new market and all that. Like, did you get a chance to speak to some of the, whether it was players, coaches, management for some of these other teams, and just what was their impression of, the format of coming to Canada and how far even just Canada basketball has come in the last decade? Because this is something that you rewind a few years, like Canada wasn't involved in these things. So, what was their sort of takeaway from not only year one of CEBL being involved, but also your ability to host and grow the game as well up north here?
Well, I think we initially, surprised a few people. We won our first game of the VCLAs in Nicaragua against the Nicaraguan team, against with 5,000 flag waving people and flares going off and all that stuff. And they were the runners up last year in the final 8 of the Americas. So that was a huge kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was one part of it, to kind of show what we're all about somewhere else. But when we brought these players home and brought the Puerto Rican team and Nicaraguan team here, they were blown away. I mean, especially for a lot of Nicaraguans, I don't think they've seen tall buildings and all this stuff. It's a different way of life, right? In Central America. So they love the experience. FIBA itself and the people we work with there were so gracious and so complimentary of how we operate, how we run, to the point where they want us to help even talk to some of the leagues, in Central and South America about the operations and how we do things from a professional perspective. The city of Calgary was a great host. The fans were awesome for not having a team there, and for it being new. It was well attended and loud and exciting, and we pulled off our 2 wins at home. So we went 2-0 at home, and that was really important. So I think we've shown that on the court we can be very, very strong, and off the court we're probably one of the stronger organizations out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, another important partnership that you guys have really been developing over the years is your partnership with the U Sports system as well, too. And you guys just recently wrapped up, obviously, your 2022 U Sport Draft 2-round affair this year. What has been the feedback that you've gotten from the players who have gotten the opportunity to get drafted by these teams, train with them all summer, and then actually go and return to their U Sport teams? Like, has there been any feedback from the coaches as far as like, my God, like if I could send all my players to you guys, I would? Like, what's that relationship and that growth sort of been like so far?
It's been great. I mean, that partnership has paid dividends on both sides. I think it's the right thing to do, which is why it makes sense. Certainly, the best compliment we get is our players that play on our pro teams go back and just kill it,
Yeah.
and they just play like professionals, and they got more confidence, and the game slows down, and you see them becoming league MVPs or tournament MVPs or Final 8 MVPs. So that's kind of the proof right there. Certainly they're talented enough already. That's why they get drafted by our teams. But that extra little bit of playing time, that the increased level of competition, the travel, the just being prepared and practicing, and everything that comes with being a pro has to pay off. And it certainly has. Even though we draft only 20 some odd players a year, we sign as free agents many more to come to training camp. Some stick around, some stick on practice roster. So it never really ends. And it's a deeper pool than what's there. Same with the CCAA guys out of college. We don't have a formal relationship with them, but we still have players that come and play for us. And that's a developmental piece. But some of our teams, they do an incredible job selecting their U Sports players to the point where they could be on the active roster and getting a lot of minutes. We've seen it happen over the years, and I think it'll continue to happen this year too.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned coverage there as well too, right? Like coverage is obviously a huge thing for any sports league, whether it's U Sports and how they don't get the same shine necessarily as even NCAA players do domestically here, or you guys. And, much has been made of the fact that, number one, you guys have a fantastic partnership with CBC Sports, but when it comes to some of the maybe highlight packages for, a TSN, the Score, Sportsnet, or whatever, here you guys are one of the largest domestic leagues in Canada here, and they can't even, put together a quick highlight package or something the next morning, right? Like, have we had any of those conversations with the executives at these sports stations? And what's sort of been, I guess, their feedback as far as the missing piece, so to speak, for them to start actually giving some coverage like they do, whether it's, NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever the case might be?
Well, I'm definitely working on it. It's been something that I have not held back in my thoughts and feelings publicly and in private with these groups. But, I understand their business enough to know that sometimes it takes something else to happen, or it just takes time. So I am far more excited today than I was 3 or 4 years ago when we couldn't get a highlight and couldn't get a ticker and couldn't get that. and they still have to prove to me that it will happen going forward. But we just had TSN and the Shift put a 14-minute feature on us that they released yesterday.
Mhm.
That's new, right? That's TSN stepping up and saying we want some coverage. Sportsnet has done picked up a lot of coverage as our players went to the NBA and some stories. Certainly CBC as our host broadcaster carries all our games. But I'm starting to feel that we've made an impression to the point where we're getting the attention. It's always comes down to dollars and cents and rights when you talk with these big groups, right? Because they have purchased rights to whether it's a CFL or on TSN or it's it's the Blue Jays on Rogers. So that's their priority, and they're going to do that first. But I have a feeling we're starting to make some inroads. Our contract with CBC is up at the end of the season. We've already started negotiating, of course, back with them, but also looking at other broadcasters, including Sportsnet, TSN, and other international groups, because we know we can deliver. We know the product that we have. We know where our players come from. We know that we can provide, at this point, 107 games and great content, and that will grow over time. So it's coming. I'll reserve my judgment a little bit to see how it happens this year, but I feel like we're making some inroads, and all that matters is that we keep doing our job right. And if you do it, the little things right, things tend to go in your direction. So I'll continue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the other things that's kind of been kicked around on social media, and I think maybe you even had a little bit of an allusion of a tweet to it there as well, too, is actually the women's side of the game as well, too, right? Big, obvious, hot topic right now is WNBA is talking potential expansion franchises. Maybe Toronto gets one. Who knows? Don't want to put the cart before the horse here or anything like that. But, does the CEBL have any plans to dip its toes into the women's game and put together kind of a similar model to what you're doing on the men's side of things right now for the ladies? And if so, is that something that's, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, next season? Like, what kind of timelines have you guys had on those maybe preliminary discussions, if you've even had them at this point?
Well, certainly us in Canada basketball see the tremendous value that having a domestic women's league would have. I mean, we've seen now what we're able to do on the men's side, the talent we're producing, the fact that 12 of the 14 or 16 guys that play in the the senior men's national team, when the NBA guys aren't playing, all play in the CBL. Our women are ranked 4th or 5th in the world, and they only practice together weeks a year. And so imagine what would happen if you're able to get the ladies back on the court, competing at home, building their brand, playing collectively. Only good things can happen. So we've built the framework. The framework is there. That framework can easily be used and utilized for a women's league. Certainly Canada basketball, like I said, understands it. It comes down to dollars and cents. It really does. We didn't have a business plan when we set up the CBL to have a women's side. We see the value in it, but we need to have partners, and whether they're community partners or private entities, really help us get there. I think it can be equally successful. I think we can accomplish everything we want to. And I would hope that would be within the 5 years. I really would, maybe sooner. The WNBA, when they expand, my gut is they're going to probably expand in the US first over the next couple of years. But if it does come to Toronto, that's fantastic. It really does what the Raptors did, and that's raised the popularity. But it only can have so many Canadian women that play on it, right? It's not going to grow the game from a developmental point of view. A domestic league will do that. And I'm hoping that we can continue to make some steps forward on that. And there's been a lot of great women that I've spoken to, both ex-players and current players, that really are excited about making this happen and are working on their own to try and make this happen. And I'm certainly there to help and hopefully, partner with as we get closer.
Yeah. And again, we don't want to make any promises or anything like that here, but, is this something where you look at how the WNBA kind of partnered up with the NBA, and a lot of the owners that own, the Washington Mystics also own the Washington Wizards and stuff like that. So would it be a similar model if it were to actually happen, a women's CEBL league where, let's just use our hometown Ottawa Blackjacks as an example here. Would there be sort of a male and a female funnel, or would you be kind of looking to actually go into pockets that you don't even have a CEBL franchise to bring a women's team to a new venue or market or something like that?
I'll never say never. I don't know. I think combining them with our men's team and the infrastructure we have in place from a team perspective and operations just makes sense. I don't know if you can turn around and have 10 women's teams immediately. I think you would start probably a little bit smaller and you would work your way towards it. You want to make sure you're attracting as many talented women as possible. And they're certainly out there. We started with 6 teams. We grew to 7. Now we're at 10. We know that the talent base of Canadian players is so deep, we can go to 30 teams if we wanted to. I mean, what's coming in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years is incredible. So on the women's side, we have to do more research to make sure that we can accomplish that. But certainly I think the alignment with our existing teams makes the most sense. And that may change if different, private people get involved or owners get involved. There may be new markets that open that are independent of that. But I'd like to see it grow alongside our existing teams because we can certainly help it grow.
For sure. Now, getting back to the CEBL 2022 season, knock on every piece of wood around us here. There's not going to be any more restrictions or, 17th wave or whatever we're up to here. It's just going to be a nice normal season. What are you looking forward to the most as far as, getting the fans back to the game in 2022 here? What kind of atmosphere can someone who's never been to a CEBL game expect when they step foot into an arena for the first time this season?
Yeah, I'm looking so forward to some sort of normalcy and fans coming back and cheering. And if they wear a mask, great. And if they don't wear a mask, great. Let's just get after it. You're gonna get a tremendous level of basketball on the court. I mean, it is, every year we get better, and last year we were tremendous, and this year we'll be even better with the talent. And there's more teams and more players to see, but it's also the entertainment package. So you're going to come to a CBL game. The expectation is you are entertained every minute that there's something going on the court and something not going on the court. We want to make sure that, and basketball lends itself to being an exciting game, and there's lots of stuff going on and very few breaks. And when there are breaks, let's take the court and do some activations and some stuff. So all our teams are really prepared for that. They've been waiting for a couple of years to be able to really get back to normal. So as a fan will come, you'll hear lots of music. There'll be lots of noise, lots of excitement, lots of giveaways, great basketball action. I think you'll definitely be impressed with it and feel like you got your money's worth. And that's really the most important thing.
Yeah. And has that sort of excitement been reflected? Obviously, venues and markets are a little bit different from coast to coast there, but has that been reflected in the at least early season ticket sales and season ticket packages when you've been talking to the franchises? Like, are they up compared to, let's rewind a couple of years ago when there weren't restrictions?
Yeah, everybody's up. Everybody's trending a lot better than obviously the last couple of years, but even way ahead of where we were in 2019 at this time. So that's very encouraging. There's still some proof of concept in certain markets, right? For many people, they're just hearing about us for the first time this year. Let's say with the addition of Newfoundland and Montreal and Scarborough. So there's still some onboarding of new fans. We certainly have all our existing fans, and we picked up new along the way. I know there'll be a sellout in Montreal. I know there'll be a sellout in Fraser Valley. We've moved to Langley. I know that we're nearing sellouts in some of our other markets, which is for us is a great way to start. And then in some markets, we still have to work hard. I mean, it's what it is. Some markets are softer than others. Some need a little bit more TLC, and some are just raring to go. So that's the business of sport. I mean, and you own 9 of the 10 franchises, you got to have your finger on the pulse of everything. And it's not like one size fits all. But we have the engagement level off the court. And like I said, from followers and viewers and people logging into our website or trying to find out more, that has grown exponentially, in the 60, 70, 100% year over year. So that's the stuff that we watch. Broadcast for us and where our broadcasts are going is important. The content we deliver is important. Getting on new partners is important, whether it's a betting category or other categories, because now it expands what we're doing. So, those things are all starting to gel, and we're still at the beginning. We still got more to do, but I'm very excited about what the season brings.
Amazing. For those that are listening who want to tune in and check out some CEBL action, maybe they can't make it to a game themselves this year, but where are you guys streaming? Where can they find games? Where's all of that being able to be found online or on television there?
Yeah, if you're in Canada, you can watch our games for free just about anywhere. The best places to go are obviously CBC. We have 107 games on their GEM network and on cbcsports.ca. 10 of those games will be on the linear live network on the station. Those same 107 games can be found on our own network, CBL Plus. You can get that through our website, or we're just launching an app today, as a matter of fact, which will be able to house the OTT platform, the CBL Plus platform, right on your phone. And then, if you're outside of Canada, you can watch again through the CBL Plus platform and register, and any other partners that we're working on now in the broadcast space. So we're easily accessible. Certainly, our goal was to provide an opportunity for all fans to watch us for nothing. I thought that it's important that people see who we are before we ask them to pay to see us if they're not in the arena. So you can't miss the action if you don't want to. You can find it, and the best source of information is cbl.ca, and then from there you can figure out the rest.
Amazing. Well, Mike, we appreciate you taking some time to sit down with us. You're a busy man. Like you said, you got some apps launching today. The season's kicking off later this month, and the championships being hosted here in the nation's capital, Ottawa, later this summer. We wish you all the best ahead of the 2022 season.
Awesome. Well, listen, for our Ottawa fans, I mean, go check out a blackjack game. It is going to be exciting, and get ready for championship weekend. It will be a load of fun. I promise you that.